Welcome back, everyone, to Weekly Update, Week 44. Gold closed the week after dancing with news flow. It was higher, it was lower, closed the week in the middle. Consolidation, this point, fairly healthy. I don't have much to say on it this week. So, on uranium, this was the second straight month where we had some crazy update at the end of the month and something's new and excitement. Well, as you can tell by my tone there, I'm not convinced this is the beginning of the move up, mainly because the market hasn't really predicted anything well recently, and it has moved counterintuitively to good news. And there's just, I'm not bearish, but I'm just saying it's one day, it's at the end of the month. There's probably funds and some people that have to mark up their positions or, sorry, you know, mark their positions to the end of the month, and it sometimes leads to some funny things happening. And especially in small sectors, you look around, someone's doing one thing in one spot, and it kind of spooks people into doing five other things. Basically, let's not get too excited after one day's move. Friday, and yeah, Thursday was decent too, but on some things. But let's take it for what it is, end of the month, and we'll let the fundamentals play out however they play out in the long term. Speaking of the mid to long term, I was really thinking quite a bit recently about the window, I would call it, for the next 12 months or next 12, 18 months for uranium, approximately, not exactly. And the convergence of a bunch of different factors, who's buying in the spot market, carry traders maybe covering, finding the liquidity, will the price move up? Um, we'll see. Or will it be on inventories to draw down? Basically, in the next 12 to 18 months, it seems to me that there might be a particularly vulnerable patch for the price of uranium. And obviously could go down first, could not go up. Anything could happen, but there's a lot of little things that can pile on top of each other if things start moving in this window. So tariffs, there were a bunch of tariffs that went into effect on September 1st. And aside from that, you kind of have to mention the trade war, but you also kind of it can't just follow the news flow, because if you try and follow the news flow, it's just so much nonsense. And well, that's all I'll say about that. Okay, so on other energy, not uranium, that is, the the macro remains in a state of it where it should be weakening, and equities are getting cheap at these prices. The one thing that was very interesting last week is, you probably noticed if you're watching, there was a huge pop on both price and equity price because there was a massive drawdown in oil, and that got a lot of enthusiasm for all of a day before it started retracing. And yeah. Again, we'll have to see if that's the start of a trend, or if that's just a one-time event, or if the macro will catch down, or what. But either way, um, stocks are getting to a spot where they're very, very interesting. Another thing that I thought I would mention this week, because I found it interesting, is nickel. No, not a 5 cent coin. The metal. Um, the prices spike due to an Indonesia export ban. Now, this is annoying to me because I was thinking that I like the fundamental picture for nickel long term because of batteries, and I thought that further weakness might bring the price down a little bit more and work on. I was thinking that might give me an opportunity to enter, build a position. However, um, the this type of policy shift can uh, rapidly turn a market. Now, it's not the game that I love playing in terms of like entering a market manipulated, policy manipulated supply and demand picture that it gets kind of twisted and complicated. But I do think that longer term, many years out at least, we would probably have to get to higher incentive price, maybe 10, 12, maybe higher, to get a lot more nickel production. And right now, we're in the sevens, so there's still significant upside potential there. And I know there is a lot of headwinds, the global economy and the US dollar slowing, or sorry, the US economy slowing, dollar breaking out, and I'll get to that in a sec. But near term, there is still this policy risk that could go the other way, but it's an interesting market, and it just goes to show you that when the supply and demand picture gets tight and is really felt, even in an environment that's not a booming economy, you can get a move in commodity price. So I saw the US dollar index at 99, the DXY, and that looks like a technical breakout. Now, there's a lot of different impacts that this has on the global economy. But the the way to think about it, one way to think about it is basically stagflation for every country that's not the US, stagflation or deflation, because prices of imported goods and commodities that are traded and priced in US dollars, all else equal, are more expensive because it costs more of the local currency to get the US dollars to get the good essentially in a roundabout way. Um, so it is not great for commodity pricing, um, but um, now that being said, commodity producers are partially hedged because of falling costs, but that's not really the point. The point is that that probably is outweighed because of falling demand, because of increased prices, at, with no growth to compensate. Now, how high can the US dollar go? I don't know. Um, I just know that as it goes higher, it breaks things more and more and causes more problems throughout the world. So I think eventually those problems um, will be countered in some way. I don't know if it's by a weakening US from contagion to the rest of the world or forcibly devaluing the currency, but it's not good for the globe, a stronger US dollar, and it's not good for certain patches of the US economy also. So, picks for the week, we have Bannerman, which is uranium play, and this is, I mean, just uranium pick. Shouldn't surprise anyone. The second pick is a new one. Well, and the other two picks actually are new ones, but first we have Norlisk nickel. Yeah, I'm not thrilled about chasing nickel, but I do think that even if it ends up nickel going the other direction and being a bad entry point because the economy is problems or whatever, I think that this um, play will hold up, should hold up in my view, better than the more speculative plays. It has significantly less upside, but in this environment for the nickel game, and I guess you could call it, I'm not really wouldn't really be jumping into some highly speculative things. Although if you were to think of it as like a call option, then and size it appropriately, then I suppose there's nothing wrong with a speculative position. So that's some brief thoughts on nickel and Norlisk nickel. Big dividend, big ore body, great, huge mining track record. That is, it's in Russia though, so if you have a problem with that, just well, I mean that you're not buying this. I don't have a problem with that. So there. And the last pick, sorry for the ramble, is Scorpio Tankers. Now, I've been listening and thinking and going over some stuff about chipping, which a lot of people have been asking about it. And yeah, I'm not as specialized. I haven't spent nearly as much time in shipping and the fundamentals in the sector and the breakdown of the different types of shipping as uranium. But I can see the thesis, and there's bare theses, theses. Anyway, I like the risk reward from where we are now in terms of the general shipping thesis. Maybe IMO 2020 helps it. Maybe it's the beginning of a big move. Maybe it even gets better because people think that the move is due to IMO 2020, and in the end, it turns out that it's more so due to supply and demand, and that extends the cycle longer than they normally longer than the normal cycles because no one's rushing to fix it by increasing supply. That's all possible. Um, but we'll see. And so yeah, it's not obviously it's just one pick 1 week, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's that. And that's all for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, found something interesting, or are currently thinking of a great question to ask me. But either way, my resolution to ramble less this week didn't fully work, but it's worked a little bit in some places. So with that, wish everyone, I hope they had a good last week, and I hope to catch you next time. And until then, have a great day. As always, everyone, please do your own research before making any investment decisions. This channel shall not be liable for any losses incurred from investment decisions made as a result of information obtained on this channel. Good luck with your investments. I'll catch you next time.